Well, for coaches, it's always exciting when you have your first spring practice. I think our players are excited about it too because they've been in off-season workouts for about 5 weeks, and football players want to play football. They don't want to just lift weights and run. I think the coaching staff's done a nice job getting to know the players. The players have done a good job getting to know the coaches, and hopefully on day one we can hit our stride and continue this program in the right direction and get better as we go.
What are you looking to get out of at least week one of practice?
To make sure the tempo in practice is what we want. We'd like to practice fast. We'd like to practice with great intensity. I think we started to develop that in the last 2 years, and hopefully we won't take a step backwards and we'll improve. So week one is to just make sure everybody's on the same page and they go full speed.
Do you run practice similar to the way your predecessor did in terms of?
There'll be some similar things. Obviously, there'll be a few different things, but I think the intensity of practice is the same.
How many freshmen do you expect? Do you expect any freshmen to be at this camp at all?
You mean new freshmen?
Yeah.
No, we didn't have any. There are places where freshmen graduate early in December, and then they're on campus in January, so sometimes there's a true freshman that goes through spring practice. None of our freshmen, they will all graduate in May or June.
Coach, when all the changes happened since the end of December, has there been a lot of change in the way that the team is approaching things?
I think you probably have already asked the players that, and so it doesn't matter what I think, it's what they think that matters. I think there's some subtle changes, but I don't think there's any major changes, so hopefully the players think it's exactly the same.
Now, last time your predecessors, you deemed him for this one. You know, he's also worked on the defensive line, working hard. You saw him there in those drills and then working overall. You're going to have that same idea, you're going to work with your position and then oversee, or are you going to be the overseer for all the drills?
I'm not going to coach a position, and I have told the seniors that I'm going to be completely impartial during spring practice. So I will just be wandering around watching what's going on, and then I'm the referee when the offense and the defense compete, because I don't want the offensive players to think that I have a prejudice for the defensive players. And if I was involved with the position or involved with calling the defense, I'd obviously have a prejudice. And even my predecessor, as you put him, if the defensive lineman had a bad day, it was a bad practice. Where some other sides of the other side of the ball or some other positions might have had a real good day, but if the defensive lineman had a bad day, it was a bad practice. So I don't want to fall into that same thing.
Now, obviously, you haven't had a coach before, you may have had battles before. When you make that transition, not being biased, as you say, to one side over the other, is that a difficult transition, or is this something you just have to work at?
I think if this was my first head coaching job, I think that would be a difficult transition, but I've been through it before, so it really isn't. And in the past, when it was spring practice, I was completely impartial, and then in the fall, I was my own defensive coordinator. But the fall is completely different. You're not competing offense versus defense there. You're trying to get ready for the season. And so there's not the players understand that. But when it's truly offense versus defense, the players don't understand the head coach being on one side rather than the other side.
Do you feel yourself getting re-energized, just re-excited by having a head coaching position again as this time rolls around?
I don't know if it's re-energized. It's a completely different job. People don't realize how different the job is between being a coordinator and being a head coach. And coordinators that think they know the difference, if they haven't been head coaches before, they're in the dark. Because I was a coordinator for a long time before I became a head coach, and thought I knew what was coming and had no idea whatsoever what was coming. They're two completely different jobs. So there's some energy involved because you're doing something different and new, and each university has its own particular way of doing things, and you have to learn how they want to do them here. That's different than maybe your former experiences. Doesn't mean one's better or worse. It just, you have to do things through the system to get things done, and every place is different. It takes you a while to learn all that too. So I guess it energizes you because even though I've done the job before, it's new, it's different players, it's different circumstances. So until you feel, like you got all that under control, I guess it is energizing.